The climate crisis is no longer a distant threat. It's here and it's reshaping the way we live, govern, and do business. To understand how we respond, we must first understand what we're facing. According to the World Economic Forum's 2025 Global Risks Report, 5 of the top 10 long-term risks are environmental. The message is clear: our planet is in distress. In the short term, the most likely risk we face is extreme weather. Things like floods, hurricanes, and wildfires that are becoming more frequent and more severe. Looking ahead over the next decade, the most severe risk is the collapse of ecosystems and the loss of biodiversity. Right behind that are shortages of natural resources and the health effects of pollution. Extreme weather is already causing major disruption around the world. The WEF ranks it as the most pressing environmental threat now and for the years ahead. And when ecosystems start to collapse, it's not just the environment that suffers. Entire economies and food systems are threatened. Biodiversity loss isn't just a nature issue, it's a business risk. This is not just an environmental crisis, it's an economic, ethical, and an existential one. Yet, amidst the global alarm, one profession remains underestimated. In climate conversations, accountants are often overlooked. That's a critical oversight. Accountants shape how organizations understand risk, allocate capital, and define value. From boardrooms to balance sheets, accountants interpret complexity. Climate risk must be translated into enterprise value, and that starts in finance. To lead, we need to understand the risks more deeply, but we also need to reposition the accountant as a proactive agent of resilience, not just a record keeper of losses, but a designer of better outcomes. That shift in mindset is where real leadership begins. Extreme weather is now one of the most severe and frequent global threats. It disrupts operations, destroys infrastructure, and costs businesses dearly. At the same time, we're watching nature unravel. When biodiversity disappears, so do pollinators, healthy soils, and forests, all of which are essential for business. And when natural ecosystems collapse, the consequences ripple through supply chains, public health, and even natural economies. To put it simply, when the climate suffers, balance sheets do too. And this isn't just speculation. In 2024 alone, global insured losses from climate-related disasters exceeded $130 billion. That's the cost of unaccounted climate risk. Despite the data, progress remains slow. Why? If the risks are this clear, why aren't businesses acting faster? There are several reasons. First, many companies are stuck in a short-term mindset, focusing on quarterly profits instead of long-term resilience. Second, sustainability reporting is often fragmented and inconsistent. It makes comparison difficult and progress unclear. Third, most organizations haven't embedded a real internal price on carbon, so emissions carry no financial weight. And finally, sustainability is often seen as someone else's job, siloed into one department instead of being part of every financial decision. On top of that, trust in institutions is breaking down. The WEF calls it the geopolitical recession, a time when cooperation is weakest yet needed most. But here's a reality check. If accountants wait for perfect conditions before acting, we'll be too late. Leadership means stepping into complexity, not waiting for clarity. But there's good news. This is where accountants can lead the transformation. So what can accountants actually do? First, we translate environmental risk into financial language. For example, if drought risk affects supply chains, that needs to be reflected in asset valuations or revenue forecasts. If biodiversity loss threatens a company's raw materials, that could mean impairments. Second, we embed climate into strategy. That means using tools like scenario analysis, internal carbon pricing, and KPIs that reflect environmental performance. Third, we ensure integrity. Greenwashing is a major problem, but accountants can bring trust back to sustainability claims by auditing ESG data the same way we audit financial statements. And finally, we align with global standards. The new ISSB standards, known as IFRS S1 and S2, were created by the International Sustainability Standards Board to help organizations consistently report sustainability and climate-related risks in financial disclosures. Meanwhile, the EU's CSRD, or Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, takes this further by requiring companies to report on both how sustainability issues affect their business and how their business impacts people and the planet. Accounting is no longer backward-looking. It's future-critical. This is about building an entirely new kind of financial literacy, one where natural capital is as real and material as physical assets. We don't just track what companies own, we now need to assess what they depend on. This isn't theoretical. Some organizations are already showing what's possible. Unilever uses internal carbon pricing to guide investment in low-emission products. Firms like KPMG and PwC have launched ESG academies to help clients understand natural capital and climate disclosure. Neste, a company in Finland, integrated climate-related financial disclosures directly to board-level decision-making. These aren't just best practices, they're proof points. It's working. And the momentum is growing. The Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero now includes over 450 institutions managing more than $100 trillion. These players are looking for assurance, for clarity, and for accountants who can bridge sustainability with strategy. We can't only talk about emissions, we also need to talk about adaptation. This means preparing businesses for the physical risks already locked in, like sea level rise, water scarcity, or chronic heat. Accountants have a key role here. We can model climate-adjusted asset values, we can guide investment toward resilient infrastructure, and we can quantify exposure to climate vulnerabilities. Resilience accounting is not optional, it's overdue. And adaptation isn't just a technical task, it's a moral responsibility. Because behind every flood, every wildfire, every food disruption, there are communities, workers, and families whose lives are on the line. the climate fight must also be fair. The WEF highlights inequality as one of the most interconnected global risks. If the climate transition leaves communities or small businesses behind, it will only fuel division. Accountants can support a just transition by ensuring financing reaches vulnerable SMEs. We can promote inclusion of indigenous knowledge in reporting. We can track where green jobs are going and who benefits. We can also ensure transparency in ESG-linked pay and tax practices. Because nature positive means nothing if it's not people positive too. Fairness isn't just a social goal, it's a resilience strategy. Unequal transitions are unstable transitions, and accountants can be the stewards of balance in both senses of the word. To lead this change, the profession must transform. Tomorrow's accountant will need climate literacy and a solid understanding of biodiversity. We'll need to think in terms of double materiality: how businesses affect the world and how the world affects them. We'll need skills in AI and data analytics to handle complex ESG metrics. And we'll need to collaborate across disciplines to engage stakeholders, build narratives, and drive systemic change. We're not just number crunchers anymore, we're system builders. Imagine an accountant who knows as much about ecosystems as they do about equity. That's not a stretch, it's the new standard. This is our defining decade. The World Economic Forum says we face a choice. Either we collaborate or face compounding catastrophe. Accountants must choose collaboration. Let's redefine resilience, let's rebuild trust, and let's reimagine value. Don't audit the collapse, help build a solution. Because the most powerful tool we have to fight climate change might just be the spreadsheet. This video is an official entry for the ICAEW Climate Essay Competition 2025. A future fit profession starts with bold ideas and urgent action. And sometimes those ideas start with a single question: what if accountants could save the planet? Thank you.